Hi everyone, today I'm going to tell you the one true story. Please support me by liking and subscribing. Thanks, are you ready? Here we go. Lucas had always been different, even as a small child. While other kids his age played and laughed in the sunlight, he preferred to wander in the shadows. It wasn't that he hated the sun. It was just that the darkness seemed more inviting, more comforting. It was one of those hazy autumn afternoons when Lucas, at 6 years old, found himself wandering deeper into the woods behind his house. The air was thick with the smell of damp leaves, and the trees towered over him like dark sentinels. He was lost, but he wasn't afraid. Not yet. That's when he saw him. At first, Lucas thought the man was just another figure, someone out for a walk in the woods. But there was something about him that felt wrong. The figure stood still, watching him with eyes that gleamed like embers in the fading light. His face was pale, almost ghostly, and his clothes were dark and ancient, as if he had stepped out of a time long past. Lost, are we? The man's voice was smooth, rich, like honey dripping from the comb. Lucas nodded, suddenly aware of a deep unease creeping through him. Don't worry, the man continued, his smile wide and knowing. I can help you. In fact, I can help you with anything you want. All you have to do is ask. Lucas's heart raced, but he couldn't look away from the man's eyes. They weren't human eyes, not really. They were something far darker, far older. Still, the idea of someone offering help, of someone who understood, was too tempting for the lonely child to resist. I want a new bike, Lucas whispered, his voice trembling. He had seen the other kids ride their bikes, but his family couldn't afford one. The man's smile deepened, almost predatory. A new bike, you say? He asked, his voice full of amusement. Consider it done. In that moment, the world seemed to shift. The air grew thick with a strange energy, and before Lucas could blink, a shiny red bicycle appeared in front of him, pristine and perfect. Lucas's jaw dropped. How? Remember? The man said, stepping closer, his shadow stretching impossibly long. You don't have to do anything but ask. I will always be here to give you what you need. Who are you? Lucas asked, a chill creeping down his spine. The man's smile faltered, then returned, colder this time. I am someone who knows you, Lucas. I see your desires, your fears, and I can give you everything you've ever wanted. But there's one thing you should know. There's always a price. But you don't have to worry about that. Not yet. With those words, the figure vanished into the trees, leaving Lucas alone with his new bike. He should have felt afraid, should have run back to his parents and told them about the strange man in the woods. But instead, a strange feeling of calm settled over him, as though he had just made an important choice, one that would define the rest of his life. Over the years, the man, Satan, though Lucas never knew his true name, kept his word. Whenever Lucas was in need, the man appeared, offering exactly what he wanted. Money for new clothes, popularity among his classmates, success in everything he touched. The gifts were always perfectly timed, always exactly what Lucas needed, and always with the same gentle smile. But with each gift, there was a subtle change in Lucas. He began to feel a growing emptiness inside him, a gnawing sense of something missing. Each time Satan fulfilled a request, Lucas felt his control over his own life slip a little further. He was no longer making his own choices. The man was always there, shaping the course of his existence. And Lucas didn't even realize it at first. It wasn't until Lucas was in his 20s that he started to notice the cracks. At first, they were small, just a strange whisper in his ear when he was alone, a soft suggestion that he should want something more. You should have a better job, the voice would murmur. You should be more important. Don't settle for mediocrity. And Lucas, always hungry for more, would ask, and Satan would provide. New job opportunities, promotions, friendships that seemed to bring him closer to the people he longed to impress. But at what cost? By the time Lucas turned 25, the cracks had spread. He was no longer just a man with desires. He was a man who needed Satan's influence, needed his approval, needed his gifts. And still, Satan's whispers grew louder. One night, as Lucas sat alone in his apartment, the air heavy with the weight of his growing anxiety. Satan appeared to him again, just as he always had. But this time there was something different. The figure was not just a man. His form seemed to ripple, as though his body was constantly shifting in and out of existence. "Lucas!" Satan's voice rumbled, deeper now, full of something dark and ancient. "You've done well. You've asked for everything I've given you. But now there is a price to be paid." Lucas swallowed hard. He had known deep down that something was wrong. But now that the moment had arrived, he felt a cold dread grip him. I don't understand." "Of course you don't," Satan replied, stepping closer. "But you will." He extended his hand, and Lucas hesitated, though he didn't know why. Something deep within him told him to run, to break free, but he couldn't move. The grip of the man's power had taken hold of him long ago. "I've given you everything you've ever wanted, Lucas," Satan continued, "and you've never questioned why. But now it's time for you to face the truth. You see, you're mine. Your desires are my desires. Your fears my creation. And now, you will pay the ultimate price for your dependence." Lucas felt his heart hammer in his chest as the room began to warp around him. The shadows grew longer, twisting like tendrils of smoke. The walls seemed to close in, and his body grew heavier, as though the very air was pressing down on him. "No!" Lucas gasped, but the words caught in his throat. His mouth couldn't move. He tried to scream, but no sound came. His vision blurred as his body started to change. His limbs stiffened, his joints locked, and his skin began to smooth, growing hard and lifeless. The last remnants of his humanity. His voice, his ability to move, his sense of self, were slowly being stripped away. He was no longer a man. He was something else, something cold and hollow. Satan's laughter echoed in his ears, a low, malicious sound that seemed to come from everywhere. "You wanted everything, Lucas?" Satan purred, his voice now distorted. "And now you have it. Forever." Lucas felt his eyes being drawn into the dark abyss, unable to look away, unable to blink. His body had become rigid, immobile, like a doll. His mind screamed, but there was nothing he could do. He was trapped in his own flesh, unable to escape the horror of his fate. Satan crouched beside him, his eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. "Now you will witness eternity. You will watch as the world changes around you, but you will never be able to do anything. You will never be able to ask for anything again. You are mine, Lucas, and you will remain here in this form for as long as I wish." The last thing Lucas saw was Satan's smile, wide, knowing, and full of darkness, as his body turned completely to stone. And then, there was nothing, no movement, no sound, just a terrible, eternal stillness. A living doll, cursed to watch the world unravel, forever trapped in the grip of the one who had given him everything, and taken everything in return. A living doll, cursed to watch the world unravel, forever trapped in the grip of the one who had given him everything, and taken everything in return. Thank you for watching. Please support me and meet me in another video.